When you're playing the old business game, one of the biggest problems, to whatever degree you've experienced it, we all do, playing the old business game, is stress. I used to refer to myself for multiple decades playing the old business game as a stressed out maniac. And that may seem like an extreme term, but that is exactly how it felt to me. And so what happens when you're in this kind of a dynamic? And I use two metaphors to talk about this. One is a hamster wheel. When a hamster's on a wheel, it's running, pushing, trying to get somewhere, but it doesn't really get anywhere. It's just an endless loop of push that never stops until you get off the wheel. The other metaphor that I like talking about, and I'll share a third one with you in a minute, is dogs on the track. When dogs are on the racetrack, they chase a mechanical rabbit, but they'll never catch the rabbit. It doesn't matter how fast they go, how hard they practice, how strong they get, what kind of food they eat. None of it matters. By design, the rabbit is always just out of their reach, and they never catch it. Same thing in playing the old business game. And the stress comes from the chasing, wanting to catch these things, to achieve our goals, to put out fires, to end the struggle, to end the stress, to make more money, whatever it might be more competitive, build the business bigger, whatever it might be, but never catching it. And so the stress comes from, it's kind of like the third metaphor I'll share with you, it's kind of like you're in a rodeo, and you've got this lasso, and there's this wild animal, this wild bull that's outside of you, and you have to swing your lasso and try and get it around the neck of this wild animal, this wild bull or whatever it is, and then wrestle it down to earth, get it under your control. And the better you can do that, then you start to win the rodeos. And what causes us the stress is this wild animal, of all this stuff that's going on that appears to be outside of us that we don't really have any control over. And it's kind of like we're constantly swinging this lasso trying to get this animal and then wrestle it down, but either the lasso doesn't go around its neck, so we can't start pulling, or it goes around the neck, and we start pulling it down, but then the wild animal gets loose again. Or we get it around the neck, we wrestle it down, we get it down, we feel like it's under our control, and then all of a sudden the animal gets up again and starts bucking and yanks the thing off of its neck, and we're starting the same thing again. And that's what the stress comes from. At its core, it comes from a bunch of lies, a bunch of illusions, a bunch of stories that you've convinced yourself are true about power outside, and how powerless to one degree or another you are, and at the mercy of all these forces that are beyond your control. And as long as you got the lasso and you're trying to lasso this wild animal, all these forces that appear to be outside of you, employees, competitors, the economy, new technologies, the government, the IRS, the tax service, wherever country you might be in, it's going to be that same thing. You're going to be the hamster on the wheel. You're going to be the dog on the track. You're going to keep trying to lasso and wrestle down this wild animal, but never be able to do it, and constantly be feeling stressed. There's no way out of it. When you start to travel down the busting loose path, when you begin to play what I call the phase 2 game, or the new business game, all of that changes. You get off the hamster wheel. You get off the dog track. You get out of the rodeo ring. And all of this changes. And when that happens, the stress naturally begins to weaken and then drop away. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. It's not an intellectual thing. It's not a thinking thing. You can't force it. You can't push it. You can't shortcut it. But there is a path. And in Busting Loose from the Business Game, in my Busting Loose Phase 2 work, I give you that path. I give you all the tools that you can use to get off the hamster wheel, off the track, out of the rodeo ring. And when that happens, as I said, the stress begins on its own as a natural byproduct of expansion and moving into the new business game. The stress and the outside forces and their effect on you and all of the stuff that's caused you so much stress in the past begins to naturally weaken. And then it weakens some more, and then ultimately it drops away, and it just becomes a non-issue. And you start playing the new business game in a radically different way, that in the way that you experience it all the time is fun and easy and joyful, and you're feeling a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment and expressing yourself in ever-expanding creative ways, which is what I think is what all of us want most, is to be able to express ourselves in creative ways with no limits or restrictions, and following what we love to do and what we feel motivated to do and what really floats our boat. And this is what it opens up into. And as you take this journey, again, you don't have to target stress with a nuclear bomb and blow it up. You don't have to have some kind of specific strategy or set of strategies to try and reduce it or avoid it or make it go away. You simply begin on the busting loose journey. You begin playing the phase 2 game. You expand into playing more and more and more of, let's call it, the pure new business game. And as a natural byproduct of the expansion in consciousness that comes from that, again, you'll just notice stress weakening and then dropping away completely, permanently. And that's how it works when you bust loose from the old business game.